Well, what can I say? We got season 3 of Tokyo Revengers after how it ended in the beginning of this year. Now we get season 3, the Tenjiku arc. And well, what's the best way to start this review than where we basically left off at the end of season 2? We have Takemichi being confronted by Kisaki, basically revealing that he is part of the Tenjinku gang. And yes, I mean, what did Takemichi expect? Kisaki has a thing of being so ridiculously obsessed with wanting to have Mikey that it is, creepy and very annoying, considering that he's the reason a lot of the bad timelines exist and why Hina in the future is dead. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. So we basically have Kisaki leave with Hanma and having Takemichi and his friends with a knocked out Chifuyu having to deal with Mochi's group, since he kind of just wants an actual fight, so he goes off and fights someone else, which we'll get to. Just as it seems like Takemichi and his gang are about to literally get their ass whooped, here comes Angry and Smiley for the save, just ramming the living shit out of these gang members with their fucking bicycles. Surprised our motorcycles. I'm surprised some of them even survive crap like this. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway, they save one of the members of Takemichi's friends, and then they go off together with Chifu waking up and all pissed off that he lost by a cheap shot. But, I mean, he still lost. But we also have Angry and Smiley basically saying that, yeah, they fought Mochi and lost. From what I like about the anime is basically Angry and Smiley are quite sadistic as fuck. They spot two of the Tenjinku members. They basically put their motorcycles to the side because they're driving both Chifuyu and Takemichi. And then like, hold on here. Let's just talk, guys. Let's talk. And just goes and chases the hell out of them. It's hilarious. It is genuinely perfect and fits with their characters. Angry, well, he's a kind, but just as an expression of just angry. And then Smiley may have that smile on his face at all times, but he is a very sadistic person. But having the two basically chase off and beat the information out of the two Tenjinka members is just priceless. Though, what is interesting is, going back to what I said about before, Moichi goes against Mitsuya, and we've seen Mitsuya fight. He fought in last season against Taiju, and he held his own pretty well, up until he got his ass whooped. But it just shows, like, he's gotten stronger for sure. And he's kept his own until the Hitai brothers just come in and knock the shit out of him, unfairly and underhandedly. Which kind of shows that these Tenjinku members are no joke. They're basically giving it everything they got to screw with Tomon. And not only that, we see another member, one of the old Black Dragon leader before Taiju, come in and just beat the hell out of a few Tomon members. Which, I mean, this is a menacing look. I'll give it that. But considering what he does later on in the series, I mean, this is his shining moment. I won't take it away from him. That's all I'll say on that matter. So I won't spoil on future events. But we get an extra scene that wasn't in the manga from what I've looked through. It's basically Pe or Pa, whichever of the two. Basically, he gets ganged up and attacked. It's not shown in the manga, but I like that it implies that this guy who in season 1 in the Mobius arc, who ganged up on Draken, basically gets karma'd. But we do have Takemichi and his group go and confront other Tenjiku members with one of the leaders, Kakachu. Basically, Kakachu just tells everyone like, hey, y'all leave. I can handle these guys on my own. So instead of like a ton of them versus 4, is now a 1v4. Which turns into a 1v1 as Smiley basically goes to fight Kakachu. However, this is where I noticed that the manga and the anime is slightly different. We have in the manga, definitely, which I'll show here, having Smiley actually fight Kakachu and Kakachu losing. While in the anime, as shown here, we have Kakachu challenging Takemichi and sort of showing that he let himself get punched. Since the key for this, which is the same for both, is that once he's on the ground and, well, down, Takemichi remembers, oh, this is my childhood friend. So it's supposed to remind Takemichi of his childhood friend. Interesting thing that both scenarios lead into one thing. But there is something I skipped because I wanted to talk about this part in depth before we get to Kakuchu and Takemichi's discussion. Takemichi talking with Chifuyu about the possibility that Kisaki is a time leaper. The best thing about the evidence that comes down to is that every time Takemichi makes a change, for some reason, that change is still not enough to completely change the future. So the theory for them is, well, if he keeps looping, then someone else must be also looping and changing whatever he changed to keep things still the same. Mikey corrupted, Tomon corrupted, and Kisaki in charge. So with that, this last future that Takemichi had went through, Kisaki is dead. And considering Kisaki is going desperate enough to join with another gang just to get back into Tomon with Mikey in a very desperate move to be back on his side. Now, this is obviously insane for many good reasons, but considering the fact that that's their best lead on how Kisaki is still somehow overrunning the future into being a bad one, it's not a bad theory for the characters to think this. I like this about the two, because they're basically very serious on it, because it's getting ridiculous at this point how many times Takemichi has gone back, things haven't changed, he goes back, changes an event, and it still doesn't change the outcome, as Mikey's still somehow corrupted, Tomon are still murderers, yada yada yada. Anyway, going back to where we left off with Takemichi and Kakucho, considering this part, in this version, Takemichi wants to speak with Kisaki. He makes it clear after Kakucho basically asks, like, what type of guy Kisaki is. Takemichi wants to figure out and ask him, is he a time leaper? However, alternatively in the manga, as I will say, the conversation is more shifted into Kakucho wanting Takemichi to save his new hero, Izana, which is interesting because it's the whole theme that Takemichi is everyone's hero. Although in this case, I mean, he's been replaced in Kakucho's heart. Yeah, the episode kind of ends, at least when it comes down to these two, where the manga goes into having Kakucho basically telling Takemichi to save Izana from what is presumably Kisaki, while in the anime, it basically just have Kakucho help his friend by telling him, hey, there's a traitor amongst your group, which completely changes the damn tone of what's coming up next. But there's also something that I was saving to the very end of this video specifically. Izana's introduction. Mikey is funny that he's just kind of doing his own thing, kind of just chilling, not really being attacked because no one's stupid enough to actually try to fight him. But Izana just randomly pops up there, compliments Mikey's bike, and then says his name before leaving in such a menacing way. This is quite literally one of the most interesting introductions to him. Aside from Season 2's introduction, this one is reintroducing him as the bigger threat, the more crazy one. He's even more crazy looking, not as too crazy than Taiju, but he definitely gives the menacing aura. But overall, I gotta give it a 10 out of 10. They really put a really strong start with a few changes that interest me. Quite literally puts things into perspective, as well as adding a few nice details. Even if they're small, it's still pretty nice.